It is your main man, Andrew Wood, return to you. Today, I speak of the Hexblade. Now, I ran a Forgotten Realms campaign 4 years ago. One of the characters, my man Kevin Cuff, played a Hexblade in the campaign. This character's name was Shazad. He was from Thay. Well, he was actually from Mulhari, what's the name of it? But he grew up in Thay. The Hexblade is to the sorcerer what the paladin is to the cleric. It is a fighter sorcerer sort of mix, similar to the paladin. They have your D10 hit points, alignment, any non-good, so you even have this sort of alignment thing, much like a paladin does. To me, the Hexblade came across largely what I would like to have had the Warlock come across like. The Hexblade, when it starts getting up a little bit in levels, like things like Aura of Unluck, come across a bit more like he's a lucky guy instead of actually really making you unlucky, like your shots don't hit him, mischance. That's really coming across as a luck power. I don't see him as being someone who necessarily should have good luck. He should have more of the effects of entropy affecting you poorly. And so thematically, I didn't really care for that power too much. His curse, on the other hand, really works. It's very interesting. It's a swift action, boom, and then, that's just odd. What was it? Fazakabum! He would say that, Fazakabum! Or some shit like that. And he would curse him. Sometimes they make it, sometimes they wouldn't. But this guy was able to lay out while the group was some of them were first, some of them were second. He was playing an Aasimar. Shazad was an Aasimar. So he was the first level character, basically, because he still had to get over that +1 ECL. And he's able, and I have a critical hit chart, but he's able to kill a troll. And the only reason they were able to kill the troll is the troll failed its saving throw against his curse power. The only reason he was able to kill the troll is I thought it was a troll was like a first or second level ranger on top of that, and it was supposed to mop the floor with him. Because that I actually designed it to beat the party, and they won. All right, I expected that one coming, because he critted on it because it gave them enough rolls, enough rounds, because the curse, Hexblade curse, the target Hexblade curse takes a -2 penalty on attack, saves, ability checks, and that really can make a big effect on what happens to that target. And you get that more and more times per day, 2 at 5th, 3 at 9th. You go all the way up to at 17th 5 times a day, and that's a lot. Particularly for someone who does not run massive amounts of combat. That's like every combat. You're like, you're hitting them. And of course, I require someone to always they're saying something, they're doing something, they're putting over, they're adding the flavor to something like a curse. The power of metal is something I've seen it since in other places, but before I got a hold of this book, I'd never seen metal before. I was like, oh, that's a pretty neat power. And we actually got some play out of that. They also get familiars at 4th level. They have arcane resistance at 2nd level. Basically gives them, it's basically like the Paladin's ability, but I think it's Divine Grace, but it's just to spells. So they get that charisma bump to spells. Combined with the fact they already have strong will save, these things are saving against spells very easily. I remember his character, it was very hard to ever put anything on him via magic. Every once in a while you get one through, but it was very difficult. A bonus, and I think he got all the way up to like a 21 charisma in the game at some point. So you can imagine, that's like a +5 to a saving throw. And his character eventually took some sorcerer, and he took like 1 or 2 levels of sorcerer, and got like a PRC. So he added other stuff. Of course, sorcerer obviously makes complete sense for a Hexblade. You just acquired more use of the magic. The class does cast spells as well, but they don't cast them until 4th level, and even then, it's very little. It's very minimal. Their spell list is not. There's probably something on there. So I'm like, oh, this spell actually is, But to me, I didn't really see anything that I was like, oh, that's really great. The huge downfall of the class, why it doesn't see more play, is a class called Duskblade, which, from a combat standpoint, does way better what this class is. It merges wizard and fighter. Now, this class is obviously a sorcerer type, but the fact you have spells right at 1st level with Duskblade just trumps this class in terms of the overall power. But the flavor and feel of this class, and the fact you do get some interesting other things, the metal, the familiar, the arcane resistance, definitely leads me to wanting to play a Hexblade at some point. I haven't knocked that one off the list of classes that I would like to play in the 3.5 game. But the character, overall quite interesting. You have this strange occult, eldritch feel to him, and it gives you a lot of fodder to role play. Whether you want him to be malignant, malicious, a vicious sort of individual, or perhaps just have a sort of aura of strangeness, oddness, sadness about him, clinging to him, haunting him. He could seem brooding and aloof, or he could seem extremely charismatic, very much playing him in that sort of devil archetype. After all, this character is fairly likely to have a good charisma. He is a charisma-based caster. He does have charisma-based abilities. It makes sense that you might have at least an above-average charisma on the majority of these characters. This is, of course, the want of most people to spend those points where they're going to get the advantage of them. Not necessarily always the best way to do things, not the most unique way to do things, but still it is there quite often. The character gets advantage and abilities out of charisma, which I always love, because I love to have a high charisma, regardless of whether I get anything out of it or not. I just love a good charisma. I love charisma skills. I just want to be decadent. I want to be opulent. I want to be the man. That's, to me, I see no reason never to play a character cool. I mean, every once in a while, flip it up, you get a character concept or whatever, But overall, it's just general standard default. I like charisma, so characters that actually get something out of the most worthless stat, even in 3.5, I'm a fan of that. I think that they provide a lot of interesting opportunity for the multiclassing. Maybe you take like some sort of anti-paladin, mix it in there. You could obviously use sorcerers or even wizards, build up towards eldritch knights and things of that nature, where it could be pretty interesting based. And again, the fact that you get familiar with most of these classes don't get something like that, I think it can lead to people being a bit confused as to what you're playing. If you're playing with a group, particularly a fairly inexperienced group, and you're playing a Hexblade or hexing things, and you start casting spells later, you got a familiar, but you're swinging around a sword wearing armor, and like, oh, what's this guy doing? And that is always a huge turn on for me in terms of character choosing. They are, I think, highly underrepresented. I don't think very many Hexblades have ever been played, and certainly since the Duskblade, I don't know which one of these came out first. I'm going to guess this book came out. I think this book did come out before PlayStation Book 2, but I don't think Hexblade has been highly overused. So trot it out, take a look at the rules, invest, play a Hexblade, give it a try, and the overall feel of the character. It could be very interesting. There's a Dragon magazine that has a fix for the Hexblade. I know this because my player went out and bought that, trying to get over it. I said, man, your character's straight. You didn't get none of this damn stuff. He didn't like that, but he didn't get it. So, but overall, I love this character. I thought he added a great, he was a real peller of the game. Very interesting character that definitely made the game a lot of fun. So, that's the Hexblade. I'd like to hear you guys' thoughts on the Hexblade, what you think about him. What do you think about a cursing? What do you think about a metal? What do you think about having a familiar? You understand, baby. So let's engage in a little dialogue in the comment section below.